In the 1960s and 70s, a secret war was being waged in America, not on the streets, but in the shadows. The FBI's Operation COINTELPRO set its sights on one target: the rise of Black Power. Under the name of national security, the government launched one of the most aggressive surveillance and disruption campaigns in U.S. history, aimed at silencing voices calling for freedom, unity, and equality. In this video, we're uncovering the hidden story of Operation COINTELPRO versus Black Power, how the FBI infiltrated movements, spread misinformation, and worked to dismantle organizations like the Black Panthers, SNCC, and others fighting for justice. And trust me, the truth behind this operation is as shocking as it is important. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell, because understanding how power operates in the dark helps us see the truth of the light. What was COINTELPRO? COINTELPRO stands for Counterintelligence Program. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover launched it in 1956, originally targeting the Communist Party. But by the 1960s, its focus shifted heavily toward Black liberation groups. The program's goal wasn't just to monitor activists. It was to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize them. This wasn't about catching criminals. It was about stopping political movements that challenged the status quo. The program operated in complete secrecy, with no oversight from Congress or the courts. Agents had permission to use any tactics necessary, legal or not, to break up organizations they saw as threats. Why the Black Power movement became target number one. As the civil rights movement grew more militant in the mid-1960s, the FBI panicked. Groups like the Black Panther Party didn't just want integration. They demanded fundamental change to American society. They openly carried guns, talked about revolution, and built community programs that made the government look bad. Hoover called the Black Panthers the greatest threat to the internal security of the country. That wasn't based on any actual violence they committed. It was about their political ideas and their ability to organize. The FBI also targeted groups like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Nation of Islam, and even Martin Luther King Jr.'s Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Anyone promoting Black self-determination became a target. Surveillance tactics the FBI used. The FBI's surveillance operation was massive. Agents tapped phones, installed hidden microphones in homes and offices, and opened activist mail. They photographed people at rallies and meetings, creating detailed files on thousands of individuals. In some cities, the FBI tracked activists 24 hours a day, following them to work, to the grocery store, and to friends' houses. They collected information not just about political activities, but about personal relationships, financial problems, and private conversations. This wasn't random spying. It was systematic intelligence gathering designed to find weaknesses they could exploit. The goal was to know everything about a person so they could be controlled or destroyed. Infiltration and informants. Surveillance from the outside wasn't enough. The FBI needed people on the inside. They recruited informants in several ways. Some were paid cash for information. Others were arrested on minor charges and threatened with jail time unless they cooperated. Some informants genuinely believed they were protecting their communities from violence. These infiltrators attended meetings, took leadership positions, and gained activists' trust. In the Black Panther Party alone, historians estimate that roughly 10 to 15% of members might have been informants. One famous infiltrator, William O'Neill, became the head of security for the Chicago Panthers. He provided the FBI with detailed floor plans of Fred Hampton's apartment, information used in the raid that killed Hampton in 1969. Psychological warfare and dirty tricks. The FBI's tactics went far beyond just collecting information. They actively worked to create chaos inside movements. One common tactic was sending fake letters designed to create suspicion and conflict. They'd forge letters between leaders accusing each other of being informants or having affairs. They spread rumors to turn allies against each other. In one operation, they sent a cartoon to the leader of a Chicago gang, suggesting the Panthers had disrespected him, hoping to trigger violence. They also worked to get activists fired from jobs, evicted from homes, and denied loans. They contacted employers, landlords, and banks with false information about people's criminal records or political activities. The goal was to make activism so personally costly that people would give up. Media manipulation. The FBI didn't just attack movements directly, they shaped how the public saw them. Agents fed negative stories to friendly journalists who would publish them without checking sources. They created fake media outlets and newsletters that looked like they came from activist groups but spread divisive messages. When the Panthers started free breakfast programs for children, the FBI worked overtime to convince people these programs were dangerous. They told local officials the Panthers were indoctrinating kids. They pressured churches to stop hosting the programs. The media campaign was designed to isolate activists from potential supporters and make them look dangerous rather than helpful. How organizers fought back. Despite everything, Black Power organizers weren't passive victims. They developed sophisticated counter-tactics. First, they assumed they were always being watched. Leaders like Fred Hampton openly told audiences that informants were probably in the room. This transparency actually built trust. People knew leaders weren't hiding anything. Groups also created security cultures. They limited what information was shared in large meetings and kept sensitive plans among small, trusted circles. The Panthers created a need-to-know system where members only learned details relevant to their specific roles. They also went on the offensive with education. They taught people their legal rights when dealing with police and FBI agents. They trained members to recognize interrogation tactics and resist pressure to become informants. When the program was exposed, COINTELPRO remained secret until 1971, when activists calling themselves the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI broke into an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania. They stole files and sent copies to newspapers. The documents revealed the program's existence and some of its tactics. This exposure led to congressional investigations. The Church Committee hearings in 1975 documented widespread FBI abuses. The revelations shocked the public and led to new oversight rules for intelligence agencies. But by then, much damage was done. Leaders were dead, imprisoned, or in exile. Organizations were fractured. The full scope of what was destroyed would take decades to understand. The legacy for today's movements. The lessons from COINTELPRO remain relevant. Modern activists face digital surveillance far more sophisticated than anything the FBI had in the 1960s. Police departments use facial recognition, social media monitoring, and cell phone tracking. But the basic tactics haven't changed much. Infiltrators still join movements, and the government still works to discredit organizers. Today's movements, like Black Lives Matter, have learned from history. They use encrypted communications, practice security culture, and assume surveillance is constant. They also understand the importance of transparency with their communities and building public legitimacy through visible work. The counter moves, developed by Black Power organizers, created a playbook that activists still use today. Operation COINTELPRO didn't just target leaders, it targeted hope, unity, and the idea of liberation itself. Yet, despite the sabotage, the movement's message survived. The demand for dignity can never be silenced. What are your thoughts on how this secret war shaped modern activism? Drop your take in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this story eye-opening, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who studies history and justice. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, and never stop questioning who writes the story of power.